the aspects that attracts me to numismatics is the fact that a coin can be a moment, effectively frozen in time. There's an old adage that reads, "Coins are the footprints of history." Really think about that for just a second. A coin can be more than just a piece of metal. It's a snapshot, a product, or you could even say a map of a particular time, a place, and its people. And if you know how to interpret that map, it can tell that story. And if you'd be so kind as to join me, today's story is that of the Holey Dollar, Australia's first coin. As I'm sure you're probably already aware to some extent, that in 1788, Australia, or more specifically the British colony of New South Wales, was established as a penal colony or a prison colony, where over the course of the next 80 years, Great Britain would send more than 162,000 convicts for a variety of crimes. By the early 1800s, a bustling economy was beginning to take hold, made up of merchants, legitimate immigrants, soldiers, and yes, freed prisoners who had chosen to stay in this strange new land rather than face an uncertain future back home. And as the community grew, so did the economy, and the need for coins, or, well, at the very least, a method of exchange. The coins were in use at the time were a hodgepodge of literally anything that was available. English coins, Dutch guilders, Indian rupees, Spanish reales, and really absolutely anything else. The problem was that there were simply never enough, and what little they managed to get was constantly being extracted from the local economy by visiting merchant ships, which means that a large portion of the economy fell back into the barter system, and the chief method of exchange became rum. Yo ho ho. In fact, the rum economy was so prevalent that it led to the Rum Rebellion of 1808, where after attempting to put an end to the practice, the governor of New South Wales at the time was deposed by a coup d'etat. That man was William Bligh. If that name rings a vague bell, then it's because he was 20 years prior to the Rum Rebellion, in 1789, the captain of the armed merchant vessel, the HMS Bounty. That's right, as in the actual mutiny on the Bounty. Not to speak ill of the dead or anything, but the same man, it could easily be argued, inspired both Britain's most infamous mutiny and Australia's only ever military coup. Make of that legacy what you will. And I promise we'll get to the actual coins in just a second. Just bear with me for a tiny bit more. The regular government was then again restored with the arrival of the newly appointed governor, Macquarie, in 1810. He became a driving force for social, economical, and even architectural change and development within the colony. As it pertains to us coin collectors, his plan to stamp out the rum economy included establishing a local, regular coinage system. The biggest challenge was to ensure that the coins would stay in New South Wales and not be exported to pay for goods the very minute a new merchant ship pulls into harbor. One of the most widely used coins at the time was the so-called Spanish dollar, a peso of 8 reales, what would later become bastardized as a piece of 8 royals, or simply pieces of 8. Macquarie secured a shipment of 40,000 of these coins to the value of £10,000 from the Indian colonies of Madras in the Bay of Bengal by way of the East India Company. The coins were then delivered to the colony of New South Wales on the 26th of November 1812. Now, meanwhile, back in England, a man by the name of William Henshall was being tried and convicted for forgery, a crime which was at the time still a capital offense, punishable by a sentence of death. Faced with this, Henshall turned state's witness, as it were, cooperating with the crown to not only identify but also testify against his co-conspirators, and educating the police to catch future counterfeiters as well. In exchange for his cooperation, his sentence was commuted to transportation to the Australian penal colony instead, with the understanding that his wife and family could accompany him there. When Governor Macquarie found out about Henshall in 1812, he granted him a full and complete pardon for his crimes against the crown, on the condition that he helped to turn these Spanish dollars into a uniquely Australian coinage. The plan was simple, but also brilliant. Instead of simply over or counter-striking these coins, they would create two coins from one. At the time, the Spanish coin was valued at 5 shillings based on its intrinsic silver content. Macquarie, or well, rather Henshall, would punch a hole through the middle of each coin, reducing its intrinsic silver weight in the process. The outer ring would then be valued at the same 5 shillings still, and the inner piece would then be valued at the rather odd number of 15 pence, creating a total value of 6 shillings and threepence, or about 25% more than the actual silver content of the coins were worth, meaning that the coins would be worth significantly less outside of New South Wales, ensuring that no one would export them. Macquarie gave Henshall a workshop in the basement of the government printers, known at the time as the Factory, on Bridge Street, what is today the Chief Secretary's building, formerly known as the Colonial Secretary's building. Henshall estimated that it would take about 3 months to complete the job of transforming these coins. It eventually took him over a year, and by 1814, 39,910 Holey dollars and the same amount of 15 pence dumps were entered into circulation, with the remaining 90 coins presumably being spoiled during the transformation process. The scheme was a resounding success by all accounts. The outer rings would become known as the Holey Dollars. They were then counterstamped with the New South Wales and the date of 813 on the obverse, and 5 shillings with a small wreath on the reverse, with a identical border on the inside rim. Henshall also included a small H in the spray of the wreath. The smaller centerpiece is now known as the dump, was completely overstruck into a new 15 pence silver coin, the reverse spelling out the denomination in 2 lines, also including his initial between the 2 lines, although this detail is oftentimes worn away or lost in surviving examples. The obverse had New South Wales and 1813 along the border, along with the denticles that didn't always fill the entire rim. And that is how a convicted forger effectively became Australia's first chief coiner and mintmaster in all but name. Insert stereotype here. William Henshall's ultimate fate, however, remains an utter mystery today. He apparently booked a passage on a ship in 1817, and then the trail goes completely cold. It is possible that he returned to England, but it strikes me that the friends and family of the people he testified against nearly a decade prior may not have welcomed him with open arms, exactly. So he could very well have jumped ship, changed his name, gone to a new colony to start a new life. Perhaps South Africa or Canada or even the United States. Who knows? Anything is possible, I suppose. Now, after the Great Recoinage of 1816, the British government began to replace more localized units with standard sterling coinage across the empire wherever possible. And after the Sterling Silver Money Act of 1825, the Holey Dollars were effectively legally demonetized. And by 1826, 27,161 Holey Dollars and 10,103 dumps that were recalled and exchanged for sterling were sent back to the Royal Mint in London, where they were melted down into bullion. Today, we have an estimated 300 or so Holey Dollars left surviving. Estimates for the 15 pence silver dumps that have survived vary wildly from source to source, but hover around the 1000 mark all the same. Although, again, I have to say that it's not exactly clear what those estimates are actually based off of, so pinch of salt time, I suppose. There are also some crazy stories about people discovering these holy dollars in the most unexpected of places. One published account from 1931 tells how a holy dollar was being used as a washer to hold up a cross member on a washing line, of all things. Then I once heard a tale of a farmer removing one from an old tractor when doing maintenance and repair on the old machine, and so on. Now, while on the topic, it also bears a mention that although not identical, similar coins are also known for other parts of the British Empire as well, like this piece from colonial Gibraltar, along with other examples from the colony of Dominica, St. Vincent, and, the Prince Edward Island coins as well. These are, without any doubt, some of the most numismatically and historically important coins in Australia's history. In terms of value, though, in 2019, a very attractive holy dollar graded by NGC as AU58 was sold at auction at the ANA's World's Fair of Money for the sum of $144,000. Similarly, in 2016, a 16-pence dump was sold at auction in an NGC slab with the grade of VF30 for the price of $21,150. So what do you think of Australia's first official, sort of unofficial coins? And would you like to see more of these kinds of videos on different coins in the future as well? Let me know in the comment section below. And while you're doing that, subscribe to WNN and activate notifications with the bell icon to know when new videos are released. For the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you ever so much for watching. Stay safe, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.